Okay, we need to solve, graph, and give interval notation for the absolute value inequality. Now really quick, remember when we're looking at an absolute value absolute value, what it's asking is what is the distance from 0. So like if I want, we're wondering what number is an absolute value of 5. Okay, what would give that? 5 is a distance of 5 from 0, but -5 is also a distance of 5 from 0. So notice we're just looking at that distance. That's a distance of 5 spaces, and that's a distance of 5 spaces. So when we're doing an absolute value inequality, we're again, in fact, if we had absolute value of x is less than 5, we're looking what numbers are less than 5 spaces from 0. And so, again, that would be anything under 5, wouldn't include 5 this time, so it would just be under. Anything in here would be included, because that's less than 5 spaces from 0, or -5, because that's also 5 or less spaces from 0. Okay, so that's what we're looking at when we have an absolute value. Okay, so let's keep that in mind as we solve this. First thing we want to do is we want to isolate this absolute value. Okay, that's always what you want to do whenever you're solving an absolute value equation or inequality. So we'll minus the 3 on each side, and we'll get absolute value of 5x minus 4 is less than or equal to 9. Now at this point we can take into account that absolute value and we're going to separate it. So we want everything less than or equal to 9, or notice in this case, this little example I did with 5, it's basically greater than -5 or less than 5. And so we would just put that over here, greater than -5, and that would get rid of the absolute values. We're going to do the same thing here. So 5x minus 4, let's do it down here so we have enough space to solve. 5x minus 4 is going to be less than or equal to 9. But that's the 9 spaces, but we also need to take into account the -9, because that's also 9 spaces, but it's got to be greater than or equal to that -9. So that might help give a little more reason if you're struggling to remember. Otherwise, another way to remember is you just put the exact same inequality sign on the other side and just make the number negative. So in this case, -9. Now we're just going to solve it and treat it kind of like a 3-part equation. So we'll add the 4 to all 3 parts. If it helps, you can even draw 2 different lines to see there's 3 parts that all need to be balanced. So -9 plus 4, we get -5 is less than or equal to 5x is less than or equal to 13. Now we divide by 5 on each side, again, all 3 parts, or actually when we're dividing just every single term. And we end up with -1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 13/5. Now if that's hard to deal with, you can always make that a decimal, or you can even make it into a mixed number, so 2 3/5. Okay, so there's our answer. 13/5 I would totally accept. In fact, that's a really acceptable way to put it, but just to graph it, it can be helpful to have it in this form. So we have -1 here. There's 3. So 2 3/5 we're going to have about right here. We're going to have a closed circle because it's equal to, and a closed circle here. So x has to be less than that 2 3/5, so going this way, but it's got to be greater than the -1, so going this way. And so that's our answer. And basically, even if you look right here, this 5x minus 4 absolute value has to be less than or equal to 9. So we know that absolute value has to be less than or equal to 9 spaces from 0. And so these are the value of x's that give us those spaces. And it works out a little different because it's not x, we have a 5x minus 4, so it kind of changes things a little bit, but yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. I know this one is confusing, so hopefully that different explanation makes a little more sense. If it doesn't, please reach out.